No one noticed the dog at first. The storm was louder than anything else, louder than engines, louder than voices, louder even than common sense. Snow slashed sideways across the mountain road, erasing tire tracks seconds after they formed. Wind rattled car doors like impatient hands. The world had narrowed into a blur of white and noise. Drivers leaned forward tensely, knuckles pale against steering wheels. Visibility was a cruel joke. Every shadow looked like danger. Every movement in the storm felt like a threat, which is why, when the golden shape stumbled out of the snow, most people reacted with confusion rather than concern. A large dog emerged from the swirling white like something unreal, its thick fur clumped with ice. Snowflakes clung to its lashes. Its paws slipped against the frozen asphalt, legs trembling with exhaustion, yet it kept moving with desperate determination. One car screeched slightly as the driver slammed the brakes. What the? Inside, the heater hummed uselessly against the cold creeping through the glass. The man behind the wheel stared, heart pounding. The dog wasn't charging, it wasn't barking. It was begging. The animal staggered toward the driver's door and reared up, pressing both paws against the metal. A soft whine escaped its throat, thin, strained, almost swallowed by the storm. Not anger, not fear, something else, something painfully human. The man froze, uncertainty tightening his chest. Snow hammered against the windshield. The dog's dark eyes locked onto his, wide and frantic, pleading in a way no creature should be able to. Then the horn of the car behind him blared. Startled, the man hesitated, just long enough. The dog dropped back into the snow. For a moment it stood there, sides heaving, breath visible in sharp bursts. Then, as if realizing time was slipping away, it turned and ran. Not away from the road, toward another vehicle. A woman gripping her steering wheel gasped as the dog lunged toward her window. Ice-crusted paws scraped against the glass. The same desperate whine, the same urgency, the same unbearable intensity in those eyes. Oh my God, but fear came first. The woman shook her head instinctively, heart racing. In a storm like this, everything felt dangerous. Everything felt unpredictable. The dog dropped again, slipping badly this time, nearly collapsing. Snow instantly swallowed half its body. Still it struggled upright, muscles quivering, and ran again, car after car, door after door, pawing, whining, begging. Drivers stared in disbelief. Some flinched, some whispered. Some watched with a strange, creeping discomfort they couldn't quite explain, because the dog didn't behave like a stray. It didn't look lost. It looked terrified, not for itself, for something else. Minutes passed, though no one could later say exactly how long. Time moved strangely inside the storm, stretched thin by tension and confusion. Then one vehicle slowed. Inside sat a middle-aged woman wrapped tightly in a wool coat, her breath fogging the glass. She had been watching the scene unfold with growing unease. The strange persistence of the animal, the unnatural desperation in its movements. When the dog reached her car, it didn't even have the strength to jump fully this time. Its paws slid against the door, claws scratching weakly as it fought simply to stay upright. The whine that followed was different, cracked, broken. The woman's chest tightened painfully. Oh, no, no. Against every instinct screaming about the freezing wind outside, she reached for the handle. The door opened into chaos. Snow blasted in instantly, biting through fabric and skin. The cold was shocking, violent, alive. But the dog's reaction erased all hesitation. It rushed toward her, not with joy, not with relief, but with frantic urgency. It circled her legs, slipping, whining louder now, then darted several steps away before turning back. Eyes burning, body shaking. "Follow me." The woman's pulse thundered. "What happened, boy? What is it?" The dog barked once, sharp, desperate, then ran again into the blinding white. Stopped, turned, waited. Behind them, other drivers watched, unease rippling through the frozen line of cars. And for the first time, people stopped seeing a dog in a storm. They started seeing a warning. Something was out there. Something the storm was trying to hide. The dog didn't wait. The moment the woman stepped forward, boots sinking into the thick snow, the animal spun and pushed deeper into the storm. Its movements were unsteady, legs trembling from exhaustion, yet urgency drove it onward with stubborn force. Wind tore at everything: coats, hair, breath. Snow whipped across the road in blinding sheets, stinging exposed skin like needles. The world felt hostile, relentless, unforgiving. Still, the woman followed. "Wait, slow down," she called, though her voice was swallowed instantly by the howling air. Behind her, car doors slammed. A tall man jogged forward, struggling against the wind. "This is crazy, but I think it's trying to show us something." Another figure joined. A younger man, face pale with uncertainty but eyes fixed on the dog. "We can't just ignore it." Three strangers now pushed into the storm, united by confusion and a growing sense of dread they couldn't quite name. Ahead, the dog paused, turning sharply to check on them. Snow clung thickly to its golden fur, weighing it down. Its sides heaved violently with each breath. A desperate whine cut through the wind. Then it moved again. The ground sloped slightly upward away from the road, where drifting snow had begun to pile unevenly. Visibility dropped further with each step. The woman's boots slipped against hidden patches of ice. "I can barely see anything," the younger man shouted. "Keep your eyes on the dog," the tall man yelled back. The animal's shape flickered in and out of the swirling white like a fading beacon refusing to disappear. It stumbled once, collapsing onto its chest with a soft, painful cry. The woman gasped, "Oh God!" But before anyone could reach it, the dog forced itself upright again, legs shaking violently, body swaying, and kept going. That was when they saw it, a dark shape barely visible beneath layers of snow. At first, it looked like nothing more than a distorted shadow, a trick of the storm, another illusion created by wind and fear. But as they drew closer, the outline sharpened. Metal, glass, a vehicle, half buried, crushed against the edge of a snow-filled ditch. The woman's stomach dropped. No. The dog surged forward with renewed panic, claws scraping desperately against frozen ground. Snow sprayed wildly as it began digging near the driver's side, whining louder, higher, a sound filled with pure desperation. What happened here? The younger man breathed. The tall man rushed toward the car, wiping snow from the window with gloved hands. Ice resisted stubbornly. Wind fought every movement. Then, "Oh my God!" The woman turned sharply. A few feet from the wreck, partially concealed by drifting snow, something lay motionless on the ground. A human shape. Her breath vanished. They ran, snow dragged at their legs, like hands trying to pull them back. The wind roared in protest. But terror fueled their movements. The woman reached first, and froze. A young woman lay curled awkwardly in the snow, her dark hair stiff with ice, skin pale, terrifyingly pale. Snow had begun to gather along her coat, slowly claiming her body inch by inch. The dog threw itself beside her instantly. Its whines became soft, broken sobs. It nudged her shoulder, her hand, her face. The older woman cried, dropping to her knees. "Can you hear me?" No response. The younger man crouched, fingers trembling as he brushed snow away from the woman's neck. I can't tell." The tall man leaned closer, heart pounding violently. "Check her pulse." Wind screamed around them. Snow swirled like a living thing determined to erase the scene entirely. Seconds stretched unbearably. Then, "She's alive." Relief and panic collided at once. "Barely," the younger man added, voice shaking. The dog pressed itself tightly against the unconscious woman. Trem. Bling body curled protectively along her side. Its eyes darted between the strangers, fear blazing with desperate hope, as if begging them not to fail. Not now. Not after everything. Snow thickened. Cold deepened. The storm showed no mercy. And suddenly the strangers understood. The dog hadn't been lost. It had been fighting the storm alone, fighting time, fighting death itself. The words hit them like a shock wave. "She's alive." But relief lasted less than a second, swallowed instantly by the brutal reality pressing down around them. The woman's breathing was shallow, fragile, barely visible against the violent storm. Snow continued to gather along her body, creeping higher, as if the mountain itself was trying to claim her. "We have to move fast," the tall man shouted. "I can't feel my hands." The younger man yelled back, already pulling off one glove with his teeth. The older woman leaned over the unconscious stranger, her heart racing so hard it felt painful. "Stay with us. Please stay with us." The dog whined softly, curling tighter against the woman's chest. Its entire body trembled, exhaustion and cold pushing it to its limits, yet it refused to leave her side. Not even an inch. The younger man pressed trembling fingers against the woman's neck again. Pulse, faint, terrifyingly faint. "She's freezing," he said, voice cracking. "We have to keep her warm." Without hesitation, the older woman shrugged off her heavy coat. The wind immediately bit into her like knives, stealing warmth in seconds. Her body recoiled, but she forced herself forward, draping the coat over the unconscious woman. "Here, take mine too," the tall man yelled. "That's odd enough," the younger man said. Snow whipped harder, blinding them. The storm seemed to sense their desperation, pushing back with renewed fury. "Call emergency services," the older woman cried. "I'm trying." The tall man fumbled with his phone, hands shaking violently. The screen flickered uselessly. "No signal. Come on, come on." The younger man pulled a scarf from around his neck, wrapping it carefully around the woman's face and ears. His fingers were stiff, movements clumsy. "We can't let her lose more heat." The dog shifted slightly, pressing its body even closer, as if instinctively understanding the battle unfolding. Its breath came in rapid bursts, warm clouds against the woman's frozen skin. For a moment, no one spoke. Only wind, only snow, only the fragile, uneven rhythm of a life hanging by threads. The older woman leaned down, shielding the unconscious face with her hands. "You're not dying here, do you hear me? Not today. I need signal," the tall man shouted, stepping several feet away, arm raised high. "Just one bar. That's all I need." The younger man rubbed the woman's arms desperately through layers of fabric. "Stay with us. Stay with us." The dog let out a low, aching whimper. Time stretched. Cold deepened. Fear thickened like the storm itself. Then, "Wait." The tall man's voice cracked through the chaos. "I got signal. All movement froze." "What?" the younger man yelled. "I got it." His fingers flew clumsily across the screen, breath ragged, heart pounding violently. "Come on. Come on." The call connected. Yes, yes. Relief crashed through them like warmth they couldn't physically feel. "We need help," he shouted. Into the phone. "There's been an accident. Mountain Road. A woman unconscious. Severe hypothermia. Hurry." The wind roared mercilessly, but suddenly it didn't feel as powerful. Help was coming. But the storm was far from finished. "How long?" the younger man demanded. "They're on the way." That's not an answer. The dog lifted its head sharply, ears twitching, eyes locked on the unconscious woman's face. Waiting, watching, begging. The woman's chest rose weakly, then faltered. The older woman's heart stopped. "No, no, no, no." The younger man leaned closer, panic exploding in his chest. "Hey, stay with us," the dog whimpered desperately, nudging the woman's cheek. And then, a breath. Small, shaky. But there, all three strangers exhaled at once, as if they had been holding air for hours. "She's fighting," the older woman whispered. Snow piled higher around them. Wind continued its furious assault. But now, they weren't just waiting. They were guarding a life, together. Strangers bound by a dog that refused to surrender. The sirens arrived like something unreal. At first, it was only a distant vibration beneath the screaming wind, so faint they weren't sure if it was hope playing tricks on them. But the dog heard it immediately. Its head snapped upward, ears rigid, eyes wide. A sharp bark tore from its throat, startling the strangers. "What is it?" the younger man shouted. Then they heard it too. Sirens, cutting through the storm. "They're here." Relief surged violently through their frozen bodies. The tall man staggered backward, nearly collapsing from exhaustion. The older woman pressed trembling hands against her face, T.R.S. instantly freezing against her skin. Lights burst through the swirling snow. Red, blue, flashing like a miracle in the white chaos. The rescue team moved with urgent precision, boots crushing snow, voices sharp and focused. "Step back." How long has she been out here? Severe hypothermia. Move, move. The stranger stumbled aside, limbs numb, muscles screaming in delayed pain. But the dog didn't move. It stayed pressed against the unconscious woman. A paramedic knelt quickly, assessing. Pulse weak. We're losing time. They worked fast. Oxygen mask, thermal blankets, practiced movements born from emergencies like this. When they lifted the woman onto the stretcher, the dog panicked. It barked wildly now, desperately. No. Hey, easy, one paramedic said. But the animal wouldn't calm. It tried to follow, paws slipping against the snow-packed ground, body trembling violently with exhaustion. It's okay, the older woman said breathlessly. It's her dog. It saved her. Please. The paramedics exchanged a quick glance. Then one nodded. Let him come. The dog didn't hesitate. It leapt clumsily into the ambulance, curling instantly beside the stretcher despite its shaking limbs. Its eyes never left the woman's face. Doors slammed. Sirens roared again, and the storm began to fade behind them. Hours passed in a blur of fluorescent lights and hushed urgency. The strangers sat silently in the hospital waiting area, wrapped in borrowed blankets, hands curled around cups of coffee gone cold. No one spoke much. There were no proper words for what they had witnessed. Through it all, the dog waited. It refused food, refused water, refused rest. Curled tightly near the hospital bed, head resting beside the woman's hand, eyes heavy but unyielding. Machines hummed softly. The room smelled of antiseptic and fragile hope. She's stable, a doctor finally said. But it was close, close. The word echoed painfully. The older woman wiped her eyes. The tall man exhaled shakily. The younger man simply stared at the floor. But the dog didn't react. It kept watching, waiting, listening for something only it seemed to understand. Then, sometime deep in the quiet hours of the night, it happened. A tiny movement. So small it might have been missed, but not by the dog. Its ears twitched sharply, head lifting, eyes locking onto the woman's fingers. They moved again, barely. The dog stood instantly, body rigid, breath quickening. Another movement, a faint, fragile inhale, and then her eyes opened, weak, disoriented, struggling to focus. The world returned to her slowly. Ceiling lights, blurred shapes, the soft hum of machines, and one golden face, watching, waiting, alive with emotion. Tears spilled from her eyes before recognition fully formed. You. Her voice was barely a whisper. The dog let out a soft, broken sound, not quite a bark, not quite a cry. Something deeper, something filled with overwhelming relief. You stayed. Her trembling fingers curled weakly into its fur. The dog pressed its head gently against her chest, tail wagging in slow, exhausted sweeps. Outside, the storm continued its endless fall, but inside that small hospital room, warmth returned, not from blankets, not from machines, but from a bond that had refused to break. A life saved. Because one dog refused. To give up on the world. And the world, finally, refused to give up in return.